I try really hard to keep opinion out of my videos, but today I'm going to look at 5 cars that I think are very, very good looking for under £20,000. A lot of people ask me videos on cheap cars that look good, and looking good is so relative to the person, it's impossible. But today I'm going to do my best, so hit the like button if you want to see this video again at under £10,000 instead. I need 1,000 likes and I'll make that video. Subscribe as well if you're new. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. Let's kick this video off with the BMW 8 Series, a properly beautiful classic car which is completely unlike most other BMWs in terms of its looks. For our price range, you'll easily get into an 840ci specifically, which comes with a 4.4 litre V8 engine, making 286 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.7 seconds, though of course performance isn't really the focus of this video. Something incredibly interesting about this car is the man who designed it, Klaus Kapitza, who isn't necessarily one of the most well-known names in the world of designing cars. In fact, if you were to ask what the most well-known car was that he designed during his tenure, it would probably be this BMW, as outside of that he was important for designing a Formula 2 car, the BMW Z13 concept, and supported the design of a few Fords and Porsches, and some of the smaller features you'll find on BMWs like alloys and roll bars. Either way though, the 8 Series on release was both a more performant car than its predecessors like the 6 Series, and more expensive, becoming the brand's flagship Grand Tourer. Its design is similar to cars like the M1 and Z1, but with its own cheese wedge styling that I personally love to see. The interior is also like a time capsule. It's from the era where dashboards had to be covered in buttons to make them feel more techy. Sadly, however, sales of the 8 Series were heavily affected by the global recession in the early 1990s, alongside both the Gulf War and the increase in energy prices. Not only did that make the 8 Series a pretty rare car, it killed BMW's plans to build the M8 example, which is such a shame, as I'm sure it would have been a beautiful version of this car. Still, it can be bought with the more aggressive engine options like multiple different V12s, which you can also get in manual for a bit of V12 stick shifting fun. They'll run you around £12,000 at the bottom end, and your 20k will get you a 1998 model with 100,000 miles on it. The car likes to be driven, so mileage isn't necessarily a problem. According to buyer's guides and forums, one that sit are typically most likely to gain problems like the fuel pumps failing and cracks in the fluid systems around the engine. In the world of Mercedes-Benz, I would argue no badge comes before the SL. Yes, the S might be the flagship, but typically the SL stands the test of time in people's hearts as the car that defines Mercedes design principles for an entire generation. Think of the stunning 300 SL, 190 SL, 280 SL and the likes. They have all become incredibly sought after cars thanks to their ridiculously stunning looks and the way they capture the imaginations of car people. Even the newest generation SL is a stunning car that really turns heads, but today we're focusing on the slightly older R129 generation SL, which was the baseline Mercedes sports car in the 1990s. In SL 500 spec, it comes with a 5 litre V8 engine which makes 316 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.3 seconds. The generation this SL replaced was a similarly beautiful car, and on release this looked very different. Some people loved it, others weren't as interested, and honestly over the earlier years it seemed to look less and less pretty to my eyes, but over time it's definitely grown on me, and now I think they're a very nice car to see. One of the two designers was Bruno Sacco, known mostly for his design of the 190 series Mercedes, and though again isn't necessarily the most well-known car designer of all time, he did win Designer's Designer from Car Magazine, selected by 40 other car designers. He also cut his teeth at amazing design houses like Ghia and Pininfarina, so absolutely a legend of the game. But back to the SL, there were some modifications over the years to make it a sharper overall look, so personally I would aim for any of the later models to get the best looking examples. I'd also try to get one in two-tone, which was pretty cool, and with a hardtop roof too for the winter. To get into one of these you'll need to spend around the 6k mark at the bottom end for a ropey example, while 20k will get you a 1997 model with 75k on the clock. Battery drainage from alarm systems are known, and the soft top roof can also fail. The catalytic converter is also known to fail. Taking third on the list, we have a bit of a rogue choice, but a car that when shown as a concept car at the Frankfurt Auto Show in 2007 caused a massive stir, the Peugeot RCZ R. To be exact, it was actually a 308 RCZ showcase car that Peugeot prepared for the auto show, but the clamour around it was so much that they decided to take it into production. It's funny, isn't it? Peugeot put their minds to it and make a great looking car during a period where they were making very boring looking cars, and surprise surprise, everyone likes it. If only manufacturers started by designing to their highest standards all the time. The RCZ R is the most aggressive road-going version of the RCZ, with its 1.6 litre turbocharged inline-4 engine that makes 277 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5.7 seconds. Not bad, although I've always thought that, given the looks, it should have had more engine and rear-wheel drive. One of the best features on this car outside of its looks though is the LSD, which is known to really liven up the driving dynamics. In earlier reviews, the car was actually compared mostly with hot hatches rather than sports cars, mainly due to it being front-wheel drive. So it's kind of like a hot hatch that looks like a sports car, if that makes any sense, which is supported by the fact that the LSD is very similar to the one you'll find on the Mark II Ford Focus RS. Just 3,054 RCZ-Rs were built, and we got just under 10% of them here in the UK at 305, which for me is another positive. You're unlikely to see another one out and about on the roads. I'm a big fan of the speed bubble on the roof, the sloping looks broadly, and the incredibly aggressive interior, though some owners do mention that it's not as ergonomic in there as it is pretty. These are super rare, so very hard to come by for sale in the UK, and when they do pop up, they're typically between 15 to 20k within our price range, like this one from 2014 with 15,000 miles on the clock for 19k. Outside of a few early gremlins, they've generally been pretty good, though normal RCZs have suffered with brake issues, rust around the rails, and a few electrical problems. So I hope you guys are enjoying this video. If you have, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new. As I said, 1,000 likes to make this same video again at under £10,000 instead. And I'm super interested to hear your thoughts. What is the best looking car you can buy for under £20,000? I've definitely missed plenty of them, so let me know in the comments down below. This might be a rogue one for some people, but I think that the aggressive looks of the 370Z are really nice, particularly with the slightly different shape over most cars out on the roads. For me, it just looks a little bit different. What enhances these looks to being in the top looking cars for under 20k from my perspective though is when you get one in Nismo spec, which takes the car to a much more aggressive level, both aesthetically and in terms of performance, particularly with the stiffer springs, a synchro rev match for the manual gearbox, and larger brakes. The Nismo comes with a 3.7 litre V6 engine, making 339 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5 seconds. But in reality, the major benefit of that Nismo kit is the way that it handles and performs on track. Trust me, I have raced against one in my much lighter, better power to weight ratio supercharged Mazda MX-5. The reason why this car looks good, at least in my opinion, is that Nissan held a competition to decide the new generation of Nissan's iconic Z car. Anyone in Nissan's design teams could enter, regardless of how senior they were, so even the grads had the chance to be the person behind the looks of this car. This didn't just get a great result, it was a clever way for Nissan to save some cash, as the rules of the competition stated that designs had to be done in free time outside of work, so it didn't impact the timelines of many other cars, which in my opinion is a bit cheeky. Around the world, more than 100 designs were submitted by Nissan's design teams, and the final winner was a guy named Randy Rodriguez, who said the design was inspired mainly by the 350Z and the 240Z, but he was also designing it during Shark Week, so he genuinely took inspiration from the way that sharks look as well. Randy mentioned in an old interview that the sides are like the belly of a shark, and the profile of a shark is similar to the belt line of the 370Z. Pretty cool. These listed anywhere from around £17,500, while 20k will get you into a 2016 model that's done around 30,000 miles. Many people mention a broad range of issues with this car, but in reality, common problems are far fewer and further between than you might expect. Clutch failures and steering lock issues are noted in particular though. Taking the top spot on this list is the Audi RS5, which is all thanks to its insane levels of performance for the money, but I would also probably argue that it's the best looking car on this list too, but then I am a sucker for a coupe. The RS5 was produced as a C63 AMG and M3 competitor in the early to mid 2010s, specifically taking on the hallowed V8 E92 M3, which also could have easily made this list, but I felt like the 8 Series is a little bit more different. But the RS5 did decide to fight fire with fire, also going for a V8 like its rivals, with the 4.2 litre V8 to be exact, putting out 443 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.8 seconds, helped of course by the fact that it's all-wheel drive. The designer of the RS5 really is a legendary and very well-known one, Walter de Silva. Walter has had an incredible career in our world, and is the man that designed the original Audi R8, the Alfa Romeo 146, 156 and 147, and a whole host of VW Group cars. The lovely coupe looks of the standard A5 earned it a bunch of design awards because it really is a very pretty car, so in the more aggressive RS5 spec, these looks are only enhanced. The larger wheel arches, the aggressive alloys, the flared bumpers, the clean continuous look of the windows, and the typical large front grille all make it a great looking car. The interior is also a lovely place to be, being typically minimalist in true Audi fashion, and if you get the post 2012 facelift, it modernised the experience that little bit more. These start at around £10,000 a day, while double that will get you a 2012 example with around 80,000 miles on it. What's even better about this car is that it's known to be pretty reliable. Yes, it won't be cheap to run, but what can you expect from an engine of that size? And so there you have it, 5 cars that I think are pretty good looking for under £20,000. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see some more cheap cool cars, then click up here, subscribe as well down here. Huge thanks to the patrons for their support, and to you guys as well for watching. I'll see you in the next one.